Good afternoon, everyone in this wide, wonderful, beautiful world. You are very welcome to the Soft and Systems Size to Sales. Each week, we uncover and unpeel a different area and a different side of systems and sales. And we talk about leadership, and we talk about selling, and we talk about relationships, and we talk about internal stuff that happens within the organization. We talk about customers. We talk about customers, lots of different areas. There are so many areas that we can talk about. But this week, we're actually speaking about a really interesting area, which is client centricity in action. And we're going to be discussing how we can unpeel this a little bit more, how we can cultivate trust, because that's the big word, trust, and collaborative partnerships. So I'm here with my good friend Shay. Welcome, Shay.
Thanks, Jason. It's always great to be here. Always great conversations and how we can get really down into the nitty gritty of how we help all our audience improve their sales processes and their experiences with their prospects and their customers.
So we're back, really, and big topic today. And I'm sure we're going to have to carry this on for the next couple of weeks because there's just so many different elements in this. So Shay, let's really unpeel the onion and get through to some of the layers. Let's where should we start? Because client centricity, like, we both work in this area and we both give value to our clients. But where do we start from cultivating trust in the initial start of the conversations? Where do we start from?
Well, we start before the sale,
Yeah.
Jason, right? And like let's pair it back to when you've just onboarded, right? And I always talk when you're like, and just even before that, before we get into the onboarding element, when you're bringing prospects along your sales process or experience or journey, you're
Mm,
bringing them along a buying journey, right? And you have only a finite amount of opportunities to go from being liked to be trusted for them to make a buying decision in your favor, right? So the first thing when it comes to trust, you have to be liked.
yeah.
Likability is huge. And then with likability, there's also about authenticity, experience, confidence, expertise, all these things you have to demonstrate in a short period of time for them or for you to give them the perception of trust because they still don't really know you. You're talking
Yeah.
the talk at this stage, Jason, right? So then you get to sell. They're going to give you an opportunity. Now you have to walk the walk, right? So regardless of your interactions going forward, like you may be handing over to a delivery team or service delivery team, product team, whatever it is,
Mm,
still important for you to keep a lead on that relationship, to walk them along that journey for the first time you do something with them. So that trust is compounded, right? It's fulfilled. Now you've demonstrated that not only did you say you were going to do it, but you've done it. And I always like to say, do a little bit more. And
yeah.
how you build that trust previous to a sale is you add value before the sale, Jason, right? Now you're delivering that value as a service. What can you do above and beyond a little bit often to really cement that relationship? And that is very important to get repeat sales. So the first part of it is about delivering exceptional value in a very experiential way.
Mm, yeah, I concur with that. And to start off with the first part, likability. So likability is a funny word and it's a finite word. And what I mean by that, okay, I think there has to be a connection, as opposed to being, I'm your mate, I'm going to go down the pub with you, that type of thing. We're not talking about that. We're talking about, are you friendly enough to engage with? Are you okay to talk to? We're not going to go down the pub together. We're not going to go out and play golf together because we haven't built up that relationship yet. It's likability. Can I trust you? Can I connect with you? Can we speak? Do you know and understand my business? Have you researched well? Once we've set this meeting up, do you understand where my meetings are? Can you educate me on different facets of my business that I might not have even thought about before? And really getting to maybe some roots of the challenge, but obviously not yet. But as long as you can come across that you're credible, and that comes with confidence, and then confidence in what you are and how you deliver and how you speak, which is obviously very important. You've got to come across like you know your stuff, you know your industry, but you also know their industry relatively well to make that likability, to make that connection, that human one-on-one connection, and go, okay, there is a rapport in there. Not rapport is yeah, how the weather is today. We all talk about the weather, and that's normally a first thing that we do talk about. And obviously, us two living in Ireland, that's probably a normal thing that we do talk about. But how can we make more connections? And that is done by research and finding out nuances, maybe on their website, maybe on their LinkedIn profile, maybe on something else that they might have done, and go, oh, well, I hear that you've actually presented in this conference a couple of weeks ago. Tell me more about that. I heard it was great, fantastic, but let me find out a little bit more about it, or whatever it might be. So cultivating trust is, again, that likability, but I've broken that down a little bit more. What do you think, Shay?
Yeah, well, I believe everything you said is absolutely very important. It starts with building rapport in a professional manner, as you said, Jason, right? To show that you're the type of person, type of business they can do business with. Similar values, similar purpose, similar missions, and you work together, right? And then when you get to sale, Jason, right, it's about building on. And for me, a big part of that is now you talked about the talk, now you're walking the walk. The first point along that journey when you've walked the walk is to get feedback, to understand. And I like to use the phrase stage gating, right?
Yeah.
So you stay in a stage until you collect the right information so you can open that gate and go through to the next stage, right?
Mm.
And that's very important. And you do it, and that's quality, not time bound, Jason, right? And when you're talking about the customer centricity, it's experiential. How can they really enjoy? So you're not just delivering a service, ticking the box. What are you doing for them to know that you care, that they know that you care about their needs? And you've said it many times, maybe not just their pains and needs. What about their customers' pain and needs? But
Yeah.
what I say to that, Jason, before you go there, prove that you can do what you're supposed to do, and add a little bit of that wow factor on top. Get that feedback. And it's not just about, did we do a good job? Yeah, fantastic. No, it's about probing, what did you like about the service? What would you like to see more of? It's not about saying what you didn't like. Never
Yeah.
say that, because it won't tell you, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you rephrase that, like, what would you like to see more of? Or what else would you like to see? They're positive probing questions that you can
Mm.
get. And then once you collect the right information, then you can decide, now it's time, how else can we support them? Then build. Like, you have to keep building that relationship. It never stops, Jason.
Oh, it doesn't. It never stops. I,
Never
I, I
stops.
like to do theoretical questions. So if you were me, what advice could you give me to give me some creative feedback on what we can maybe do together differently or something like that? So putting yourself into maybe that holistic approach, because we're talking about trust, but we're also talking about collaboration. And I think we might have spoken to this before in the past, is we want to make sure that there's an invested process in there, and collaborative is getting up to that pinnacle of that trusted advisor. How can we get them more engaged in what we're doing? But again, I think once we understand cultivating that trust, I think we need to be a bit transparent to that as well. And
Yeah.
I'll give you an example today. I clicked on a beta version of my running app and they ask me lots of questions about what do I want it for and how can we work together to make sure it's better. So if that's, I'm saying it's a beta, but let's reframe the word in there. How can we get a collaborative approach, which is transparent, that can add value to their needs, but also make sure that we improve on what we do, and then get that engagement as well, which is a duologue. And how can we have a roadmap that we can share together, like a Miro board as an example. And for those people that don't know what Miro board is, it's a collaborative team effort app that we can both add in, like a roadmap of where we might see their business in the next year, the next 2 years, next 3 years, and so on and so forth. But we know along the way things do change. But even having something like a shared document, something that you can put into Dropbox or OneDrive or something like that, that they know that the next meeting stages, they know something else is going to happen with that. And that builds up transparency. And that's where we need to be with working together with our clients.
And another thing I like to do, Jason, just to build on what you just said there, is obviously you've got T's and C's that talk about the legal elements of the relationship, right? But I like to create service level agreements, right? Very simple document that and you both agree to, you both build and you both agree to and sign off on. And this is to support the growth of the working relationship, right? What are the expectations on both sides? And give an example. If I want to impact the company and get results, I can't just do it on my own. I need their input. I need them to do work. I need them committed to do certain work. I'll commit to I'll put them, they'll tell me their expectations of me, and I'll tell them my expectations of them. For me to get results, I need X, Y, and Z for 3 hours a week, right? And if I'm not getting it, I can't promise results. So we have to build out, manage and lead expectations. And then the communication side of things. How do we communicate? Create the channels for communication, right? And the mechanisms for it. So it's controlled and valued, right? It's not ad hoc and gets out of control. And then escalation as well, Jason, right? And simple things like that that will support. And again, like instigate, being proactive in this will demonstrate that you care about the relationship, number one.
Absolutely.
And as I said, Jason, when you get your first job with a client, you have to do improve it. So you're still in improving it to you mode,
Yeah.
right? And then when you prove it, feedback. And again, that's for me is the stage gate. Then you go in, well, how else can I help them? How can I learn more about their pain points? And as you said, their clients' pain points, even. And
Yeah.
I always say this is all about building and growing relationships because the more you can support each other, it doesn't make sense to work together as an extended enterprise to protect the end user, work together to make it better. And that is always the goal and the mission, or it should be, to ensure long term growth and sustainability with the relationship.
Something you said there about the contract, and yeah, you're right. It should be allowing both sides to agree with that, but that's got to be upfront. That's got to be given straight away. This is what we're going to be doing. This is typically what I would agree to, but we need to amend it so it's specifically for your needs, using your needs, and how we work together, and what I'm going to do to add value to your business. But I also need to understand the different steps along the way, beforehand or during or afterwards, or depending on the client anyway, is we need to understand every single nuances. When I engage with clients now, firstly, I need to speak to them. We get the contracts done and all that. Then I really need to dig deep before I can deliver any workshop and before I can make it bespoke. So I can really understand what the challenges might be within the organization and maybe what the roadblocks are. So I can actually put my thinking cap on and go, well, this is what I need to deliver on the first workshop. And maybe these are the people that I might need to be coaching afterwards so I can deliver excellence. I might bump it up at the end of it and add a little bit more value at the end of it. So it's fairly similar to what you've said, but that's coming from my point of view. But as companies out there, I think having that responsive transparency from the beginning builds up that network of trust
Yeah.
and
Uh,
that collaborative trust. And that's what we're speaking about
yeah,
today, which is
exactly. And to make it very simple for people, is you have to demonstrate that you care about their pains and their success and their customers' pains. You have to demo. You can't just talk to talk, Jason. There's a time for doing that when you're pitching and selling and bring
mm,
them along a journey. But when you get the first sale, you have to now demonstrate that you still care. And here's a great opportunity as well, and people don't realize. And obviously, you don't want things to go wrong, but things go wrong.
they do.
That's the way of the world. Things
It
are
is.
not always perfect, but it's how you demonstrate your actions when things go wrong that you're there. You give them timelines. Just say, look, we know this went wrong. We're aware of it. We put a we're gonna put a stop in place or a fix in place, a band-aid just to keep things moving, and that'll be up and running in 2 days.
Mhm.
And give yourself time so it's up in one, Jason. Give yourself a little bit of buffer time. And now that we've got this back in place, we're going to do a problem solving solution on it to ensure this never happens again. We'll be back to you in 6 days, get back to them in five. Right.
Mhm.
And then you demonstrate that you can be relied upon. So another part of this whole trusted element is reliability, right?
Mhm.
So even when things go wrong, you're there. You're not gonna not answer your phone and hide away from it and put your head in the sand. You're there. You're going to own it, right? You're going to be accountable and responsible for this and demonstrate that because when you do it correctly and you bring them on that journey, it's an opportunity to even show how good you are. And even when things go wrong, they'll say, "Do you know what, things went wrong, but you know what, they were amazing when they did." And
Yeah.
it's a great opportunity to build on that.
I think you're right, and organizations need to have uh, the normal criteria of what happens and how we can maybe an escalation and what we need to do and how we need to deal with it. Like the bigger companies would have a bot initially. I don't personally. I think they're quite annoying at times, um, but some companies it works. But having that one to one with you, me, and I, that you can always contact me because we built that relationship up. If you can't get hold of customer service, if you can't get hold of escalation team or whoever it is in the in a slightly bigger organization, you can rely on me to manage the process. My phone is on, but I want to make sure that I'm available for you. But you can say that in until you're blue in the face. But again, you have to practice what you preach, not do what I say, not what I do, but make sure that you're there to help them along the way and like your phone is always available. If that is part and parcel of your job, but then there could be other areas within the business that we haven't spoken about, the customer service people and all that. But we're here to support them and to make sure that they get things through. So, what I think is important for us as professionals is knowing what's going on within the organization, their organization, and they have reached out to a customer service person, but we know about it because if they ring us and we don't know anything about it, it's like we don't sound professional. But we have to be honest and transparent with that because the bigger the organizations, a lot more wheels are spinning at the same, or plates are spinning at the same time, should I say?
Yeah, and just to add to that, Jason, right? Because everybody wheels are spinning. We're in a world where people are overworked, very, very busy. And
Yep.
one thing you can't lose sight of is that relationship element of something. You can't
Mm.
just forget about it and move on to the next new shiny object. You have to carve out time for the relationship aspect of it. Because here's the thing, Jason, you can be guaranteed there's going to be competition knocking on their door,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Yeah.
And yeah, they may be happy with your service, but you have to give them a reason to stay loyal to you. And that's where the personal touch, the relationship comes into it.
Mm.
Otherwise, if someone comes in with a cheaper price, same delivery, same quality, they don't have any issues about moving. Whereas when you build a relationship with them and play in their playground, adding more value, figure out what other problems they have, solutionize with them. And that's another good element of where you become this trusted partner. Solution mode.
Yep.
Don't go with problems, go with solutions. Help them solve their problems, right? And keep playing their playground so much that no matter how much the door knocks with the competition, they won't even open or entertain
Yep.
it, even if it's half the price, because they
Mhm.
trust the relationship. They value the relationship and what you bring. And it's like you have to consider yourself the extended part of their enterprise and whatever it is they do. You have to be that person to them. You're part, you have to see yourself as part of that organization,
Yep.
and how you act will demonstrate that.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. And being that extended version of their organization is a key thing to help them bring you in, especially if
Mm.
you're going in there solving problems and challenges and whatever. But you're like that Accenture company that goes in and works with the clients, but you are that person helping them daily, weekly, as and when they're required. But obviously, not to overextend that, so they push you out. So let's recap on where we are. So I think what we've suggested is adapting to clients' needs and requirements because they change all the time. Things needs to be changed, and I think you did a post during the week, and I think I commented on that. But adaptability is especially things change, and they change so quickly. How can we be ahead? But how can we listen to them even when they're not speaking to us? What do we need to do just to keep on track with that? And I think that's really good in navigating the intricacies of this world and how can we act and maybe educate them in some instances, but especially if they're not moving, how can we educate them and say, look, how can we give them more value even though we are a trusted partner? What do we need to do and carefully help them?
Yeah, well, that's it. That's another very important call out, Jason, that things change. You
Yep.
can't just assume what you're giving them today is what they always need,
Yep.
right? Because their wants and needs will change. The market changes, everything changes. So, in order for you to know what those changes are, guess what? You have to talk to them. You have to foresee it. And even sometimes you can, if you look, and again, a part of any like good practice due diligence is to gather market intelligence, not just in your own business, but on
Mm.
your client's business, right? And start to see, well, what else do you think they could need? Go with options. Do some brainstorming with them. So, what else do you need? How else can we help you solve their problems? This is very important, and it's a great way of keeping up to date, Jason, with what their
Mm.
needs are. Because they don't. Again, you can't take your eye off the ball when it comes to this at all. You can't just assume we've done all the hard work and then go back. I'm going to chase more sales.
Yep.
You have to keep knowing about their business. You
Yep.
have to, Jason. And if you truly care, Jason, and this is what I always say this, if you truly care, you will do this naturally because
Yep.
you
Yep.
care.
Yep.
If you truly care, you'll do this naturally.
Yeah, I absolutely concur with that. So, look, we've spoken about a lots of things today, and I think it's probably time to just feedback from what we've said. Number one, I need to get a plane, but number two, I think it's an interesting discussion that we've had. Is something that is to measure the success and the impact, and I think that's another area that we can probably speak about another time. So we've spoken about feedback, and I know we've spoken about that in bigger detail on previous times, but I think that's just important as well. Any last golden nugget before we depart for today?
Well, just two things I just want to repeat what I
Yep.
just said, Jason, because I believe they're that important. Whatever you're contract to do, you have to go a little bit above and beyond and
Yeah.
continue that all the time to show you give more than you ask for, right? So you have to define what those things are. Nothing that's going to overextend you a lot, but something you can give a little often, right? That shows that you care. And again, the other thing is just to play in their playground so much so they won't entertain knocking the door from the competition.
Perfect. I think that's you hit it right on the head for today. Look, Shay, happy St. Patrick's Day on Sunday. And for everyone else out there that um, in the world that celebrates St. Patrick's Day, it's happening this Sunday. And I am sure everyone around the world celebrates St. Patrick's Day. If you're in Ireland or if you're outside everywhere else, I think other countries celebrate it in more detail than you do in Ireland. So yeah, happy St. Patrick's Day, and look forward to speaking to you and chatting to you next week on the Soft and System Size to Sales. Have a great week, Shay.
You too, Jason. Have a great weekend.
Take
Bye,
care.
everyone.